Good morning. It's Monday, September 11th, and in my mind and in the minds of many people, this day is always referred simply as 9/11, because on Tuesday, September 11th in 2001, the United States was attacked. And I'll bet you that everybody has memories of what they were doing at that exact moment. 19 terrorists hijacked 4 commercial planes. And those planes were scheduled to travel in the New England area and as far west as California. But they didn't make it there. First 2 planes were crashed into the World Trade Center, 2 of the world's 5 tallest buildings at that particular time. And they killed almost 3,000 people. And then the other plane crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And the 4th plane crashed in a rural Pennsylvania area because the plane was full of heroes. The passengers on that plane managed to take control of the plane and force the pilot to crash in that rural area. And all of the people on that plane died. But the passengers were heroes. And who knows how many people's lives they saved by giving up their own lives. So I don't know how many people were on that plane, but several hundred heroes right there. And these attacks killed nearly 3,000 people. And it was the beginning of a multi-decade global war on terror. And I'm sure every one of you out there has memories of that particular day. And I know I was working in the office having a meeting, and when we heard about the plane crash, we thought it was one of those episodes where somebody flies a little private jet and runs it into the Empire State Building, because that had happened several times. But then we found out it was worse than that. And we had a TV set brought into that conference room that we were in, and we watched the news unfold. We watched the whole thing unfold on the news. And we had a woman that worked for us whose brother worked on the 37th floor of the World Trade Center. But he got out alive. And my son had several friends who died in various places during this episode. One of them was his teammate on the college soccer team. And I've been down to the World Trade Center to the fountain where all the names of all the people who died in that particular episode of history are inscribed. And I've seen the names of his friends on that memorials. There are many who consider this the deadliest terrorist attack in human history. And I would have to agree with that. Because there were 2,977 people killed that day, not counting the terrorists. And there were thousands more that were injured. And let's look at the firefighters and the law enforcement personnel who went to their deaths on that day trying to save people. 340 firefighters, 72 policemen, heroes, every one of them heroes, going into the buildings and trying to rescue people and get people out and having the building collapse on them. And then let us not also forget that this was the leading cause of our 20-year adventure in Afghanistan, which we all know how that ended. Another disaster. But this single event took more lives than the 20 years in Afghanistan. But what a mess it made in our history. This event caused many other countries to strengthen their anti-terrorist legislation and expanded their powers of law enforcement and intelligence agencies, because they recognized that this was just the beginning. And let's talk about the cleanup of the World Trade Center site, which most of us have referred to over the years as Ground Zero. It took 8 months until May of 2022 to get it cleaned up. And it took the Pentagon a year to clean that up and get it repaired. And then there were delays in the design of the replacement complex. And construction of number 1 World Trade Center began in 2006. 5 years later, and it opened in November of 2014. This attack on the United States was a well-planned attack, which was created by a terrorist organization called Al-Qaeda. And in the 1990s, the Al-Qaeda leader, Osama bin Laden, declared a holy war against the United States and issued 2 fatwas, 2 challenges. And he quoted the sword verse in both of these fatwa. Bin Laden sharply criticized the financial contributions of the American government to the Saudi royal family as well as the American military intervention in the Arab world. And of course, let us not forget that they considered us a friend of Israel. So all of this went into the mind of Osama bin Laden in his planning of this attack on the United States. And following the attacks, the U.S. government took a position that was often repeated by the Bush administration, that terrorists attack the United States because they hate our freedom. That's what President Bush said in a speech to Congress 9 days after the attack. They hate what they see right here in this chamber, a democratically elected government. Their leaders are self-appointed. They hate our freedoms, our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, our freedom to vote and assemble and disagree with each other. That's what the Arabs hate. And so it was very easy when it came time to figure out what to do that we were going to go into Afghanistan and retaliate and take over the country. And we did a hell of a great job. We lasted 20 years and came away empty. So I don't know what we should have done at that particular time to get even. But maybe a quick strike would have been the answer. Just come in, drop a few bombs and leave. But why waste 20 years fighting a fight that we eventually lost, and we gave the country back to the people who orchestrated this terrible attack on 9/11. So there's a little history, which I am sure that you all remember as vividly as I did. Where you were and what you were doing at that time. And I hope I didn't bore you. And have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.